at the movies with Tim Sika. Hello, Tim Sika.
Hi, Kim McAllister.
Hello to you. How is the week, my friend?
Busy. I could not see every movie I wanted to see,
Okay.
but we'll play catch up as the weeks go on.
All right. Well, one movie that you did see is called Pillion.
Yeah, this movie is being advertised as both a love story and a comedy. In a sense, I can see the former, it being a love story, but there was really nothing funny to me about it at all. It is the story of this quiet introvert, a timid gay man played by Harry Melling, who's in the poster there, in a very far cry from his role as Dudley Dursley in the Harry Potter movies. Uh, and it's a story about him and this enigmatic biker played by Alexander Skarsgård, who
Mhm.
start a BDSM relationship. Okay. Do we need to go into what BDSM is? I don't think so, right? I mean, people listening know what that
I think
is.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. This is so interesting. This movie, I had to see the film twice to even get it. The first time, I hated it. I found it to be like abusive and discomforting and offensive, but something about it kept telling me to look at it again. Like like all good or maybe even great art, it definitely provoked an exclusive response from me as a critic and as an audience member. And so while this is not a film for everyone, what I concluded after having read other reviews and what other people said and what other people said about what other people said, for me, the movie sort of ultimately moves beyond the BDSM culture it purported to represent. It revealed itself instead to be this kind of psychological meditation and a portrait of how some men, regardless of their specific sexual interests or proclivities, express feeling and emotional need. Much of it is explicit. The
Mhm.
sex scenes are they were very uncomfortable for me anyway to watch. Yet the movie functions as, I think, a true work of art precisely because of that discomfort that it provokes. Given the nature of its subject matter and the relationship depicted in the movie, it cannot help but provoke discussion and debate about power and intimacy and the dynamics of relationships themselves. In fact, I think it actually kind of invites us to ask whether what is shown here is unconventional or whether in subtler forms that these same forces, those of sexual dominance and sexual passivity, may underpin a lot of quote unquote normal relationships, perhaps
Mhm.
even all. So, in summation, I would say a movie not for all tastes, but one that definitely will spark debate, analysis, discussion, conversation. That's my takeaway. Others may look at this and just say, "No way, no thanks."
So
But
here's
there's too much kicking around in the movie, and most of it's under the surface that I just have to recommend it. You know?
okay, recommend. All right.
Yeah,
So sometimes I always love a movie that after you walking out of the theater, you go
yeah.
have like a coffee afterward or a tea or whatever, and you sit down and there's so much to talk about and discuss, and I love those times, but sometimes you have a movie like this where there's scenes that are so disturbing that they're now etched into your brain and you'll never be able to get them out.
Yeah. This is a movie that refuses easy categorization, but it's also a human story and it's curiosity about how some human beings connect.
Mhm.
So, judgment aside, and looking at it that way,
Yeah.
I think it's a significant film. I really think it's an excellent film. It's just not one that I particularly enjoyed even thinking about. You know.
Okay. I mean, that's art though, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
it can be artful, but not something you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That sums this one up
Mhm.
pretty well.
Our next movie is called Jimpa.
Yeah,
Jimpa?
Jimpa. Yeah, this is
Jimpa,
another
okay.
queer themed film. I know Michael Snyder reviewed this in Pillion on last week's Mark Thompson show. Both of these films
Mhm.
having opened in LA last week, but both only now opening in the Bay Area this week, which is my beat. And
Mhm.
yeah, Jimpa. It's another queer themed movie, which I'm not sure it needed to be, and I'll try to explain that as I yammer on about this movie. I think this is a good film, Jimpa, although a somewhat meandering and overstuffed one. Jimpa is this affectionate endearment for this character that John Lithgow plays. He plays this elder gay man named Jim, who is the grandfather, Jimpa, get it, of his non-binary grand thing, he calls her, sensitive to her pronouns of they, them. It's kind of amusing. He calls her a thing because he's not supposed to call her her. See, I'm already doing it. Anyway, it's one of those things. And Jimpa was this endearment that Jim's grandchild came up with as she was growing up. It's what she called her grandfather. So the film also stars Olivia Colman. Yeah, there they all are in the poster there, as the mother of this non-binary child and daughter. Oh, see, I don't know. She doesn't want to be identified. Child of the John Lithgow character, the grandchild of the John Lithgow character, which the movie appears to be ostensibly about him, the guy, the John Lithgow character, an aging LGBTQ ally and activist from the 60s who lived through the AIDS crisis. And he has a lot of opinions about everything. He's very political. But it's also about his daughter, Hannah, played by Olivia Colman. She's in the middle there. I get she's like transcendent in anything she does, but she's trying to make peace with what she saw as a form of abandonment as a child. And there's this non-binary character thrown into the mix as well, who looks as though she too may be abandoned at some point, given the Lithgow character's behavioral tendencies. So it's obviously a character piece of some kind. I found it unfocused. It tries to cover a lot of ground. There's nothing really wrong with it in that it seems very innocuous. The acting is very good. Lithgow and Coleman are particularly terrific. I'm just not sure what my takeaway is supposed to be. And circling back to my contention that I'm not sure that it needed to be a queer-themed story, all of the characters' sexualities, straight, gay, non-binary, they just seem arbitrarily tacked on to the characters in the plot, but in terms of actual exploration, really go nowhere. So I'm not sure if the movie sticks the landing, so to speak, but it's an Australian film, by the way. It's directed and co-written by Sophie Hyde. It's easy to watch. It's never dull. So if you especially love these actors, like you and I love Olivia Colman so much, and John Lithgow, that may be all you need for a reasonably pleasant viewing experience. So I'm recommending it. I'd love for people to see it and then let me know what they thought about it. But that's kind of my take on it. I just like, yeah, this is a weird film.
Okay. That's weird because it seems like it had so much going for it.
Well, it does have a lot going for it. I just think it's unfocused. And I'm just thinking, this could have been any kind of story about, a grown-up child of a father who abandoned them and them dealing with that and trying to make peace with it. There's just all this sexual stuff flying around. I'm going, why do they even need any of this? Anyway. Yeah.
Somebody said, love Olivia Colman and John Lithgow. I was looking for that comment, but yeah, that's you say is one of the reasons to see it.
That's the reason to see it. They're so good. I mean, I've never seen any one of them do anything less than excellent work in movies. So yeah, that's Jimpa.
And our next one is called Man on the Run. I hope this is the right picture.
That is the right picture, because there's another movie called Man on the Run that has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about. This is a documentary that's being directly released to Amazon Prime Video at the end of the month. We're getting a jump on it here. It's directed by Morgan Neville, who famously directed another documentary about Fred Rogers called Won't You Be My Neighbor? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Wonderful film. And he won an Oscar in 2013 for 20 Feet from Stardom. The man's a great documentarian. He's made some excellent and very commercially successful documentaries. Anyway, he's back with this movie, Man on the Run, yet another documentary about the life of Paul McCartney post-Beatles breakup in 1969 and focusing on his post-Beatles artistic career from his formation of the band Wings through the 1970s. So it's really about second acts, really, and it begins with Paul McCartney at age 27, everybody's thinking, his best years were behind him, trying to figure out what he was going to do next after having been in the biggest and most successful rock band of all time, the Beatles. So the movie with some of the most amazing archival footage that I've ever seen. Documents Paul McCartney's struggle and everything McCartney went through in his private and personal life to reestablish himself as a performer slash singer slash songwriter. So it's pretty fascinating. Not too much to say about it other than it's a keeper. It pretty much speaks for itself, and it's a must see for pop music fans, for Beatles fans, of course, and anybody who loves stories about improbable success and second chances. McCartney's had an astonishing career even after the Beatles broke up in 1969, and this film is the film to see if you're interested in what he went through to reemerge as a pop music artist and icon.
Where did they get all the archival footage?
Good question. You know what? It's so funny that you asked me that, because I'm going to interview the director when I get off the show today. So okay. I'm going to ask him that question, and I'll let you know what he says. Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah. It's great archival footage. I mean, I never saw half this stuff.
You would think by now everything Beatles, we'd be all seeing. We would have seen it all. But
right. No, there's still some stuff in here that's just fascinating. Anyway,
next movie is called Sirat.
Oh my God, Sirat! I kind of wish I kind of wish I didn't have to talk about this movie. I'll explain. This was probably the most impactful film of the week. One of the strongest, the most powerful, and certainly the most devastating films anybody is likely to see ever. It's impossible to shake. And it will probably leave anybody who sees it numbed, soulfully stirred, humbled, and viscerally throttled to their very core.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever seen a film quite like Sirat. It's nominated for Best International Feature at this year's Oscars. It also nabbed a Best Sound nomination, and if you see it, you'll understand why. But warning, this is not a film for the squeamish or the easily upset, because it's basically a heartbreaking tragedy of epic proportions. Okay, so Sirat is an Arabic word for way or path. And so this is a story about a father, played by Sergi Lopez, who goes in search of his missing daughter, along with his young son and their little dog, with a group of ravers in the deserts of southern Morocco. So, and the backdrop is some sort of World War III triggering event. And then that's all I'll say about that. So this is basically a drama about people in trucks crossing a desert and encountering one tragedy after another along the way. I don't want to say any more about the plot. There is a very detailed plot synopsis on Wikipedia for those interested, although one may not want to even see the film after having read it, because it goes into excruciating detail in regards to what the characters in this story experience on their way to trying to find this family's missing daughter. The movie upset me greatly. I mean, it almost sent me into shock. It ripped me in two, actually. It was a movie that was so vivid, so shocking, and so upsetting that it needn't ever be experienced again. It's kind of a spiritual metaphor about God, having to go through hell, like a dark night of the soul, so to speak, in order to truly grow spiritually, philosophically, and ethically. Watching it, you feel like you're living this story. And it's a brilliant movie, but it's also heartbreaking as hell and devastatingly affecting. It starts out kind of benignly, but then it turns into this harrowing nightmare. I don't know if there would be a genre that this film would fit, but and I don't even know if this is a genre, but it's like, I would call this shocking cinema. It's just shocking cinema. I recommend it wholeheartedly, although you have all been fully forewarned ahead of time.
Okay, I have so many questions about this.
Yeah.
So you could say it's shocking. Is it, more shocking than a horror movie, or are you just more invested, like it's realistic? So
I would say it's more shocking than maybe any horror film I've ever seen.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, this is top of my do not watch list.
It's well, I mean, for those really like, I mean, that
Mhm.
want, this kind of like really stimulating kind of like, cinema that really shakes them up. I mean, this would fit the bill, but
Mhm.
it was a hard, it's a brilliant film though. That's the thing. I mean, this is like a filmmaker. The filmmaker's name is Oliver Lachey, and he's a Spanish filmmaker. He's made a few other features. This is really the first one of his I've seen. It's yeah, it's yeah. I have no other words than what I've just said. It just rocks your world, and it's because you are so caught up in what happens to these people.
Okay. Wow. All
Very
right.
cinematic, very cinematic. It's very visual. There's not a whole lot of dialogue. You don't need any of it.
Mhm.
It's just, oh man, it's a great movie. I can see why it got a nomination for Best International Feature. I think it's got a slim chance in winning, because it is so not unsavory. It's just shocking.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway, you've all been forewarned, but I will say for the record that it's quite a brilliant cinematic achievement. Yeah.
Okay. Next one is your classic movie recommendation of the week, and that would be
Yeah, Prince of the City. Since we're into some really dark cinema this week, I thought, and of course, there's ICE out there killing American citizens in
Mhm.
Minneapolis. I thought I would recommend what I consider a very little seen cop classic. It's called Prince of the City. It came out in 1981. It stars Treat Williams, and it's directed by the great New York-based filmmaker Sidney Lumet, who also made two other similarly themed films about police corruption, Serpico and Q&A. And this one is based on a true story, and it follows actor Treat Williams, there he is there, as a cop in an elite squad of crime fighters who make more arrests and secure more convictions than any other squad in New York City. But they also steal money and drugs from the crooks that they bust. Anyway, what ultimately transpires is that this New York cop, played by Treat Williams, reluctantly turns informer on his pals and colleagues after being recruited by the U.S. Justice Department to expose police corruption in the city, especially the involvement of the cops in the drug trade. So it gets to be a very complicated story about loyalty and who can you trust and paranoia, and it's quite amazing. It's a long film. It's just 13 minutes, under 3 hours, I
Oh,
think.
wow.
A dark, dramatic, and at times agonizing movie of the corrupt universe of New York City cops, district attorneys, crooks, mobsters, as seen through the eyes of this tormented soul who decides to confess everything and bring the wrath of the whole interlocking structure down upon his head.
Wow,
So
look at all those
that,
actors, though, that are what they went on to do afterward. Look at them
oh
all
yeah, oh yeah,
there.
they're all, yeah. Jerry Orbach is in there, and
Mhm.
he's gone on to make some great movies. So it's not only a long film; it's also a difficult and wrenching film. I know this sounds anticlimactic after I've been talking about Sirat, but it's also a great film. So for fans of the, dark, soul-stirring cop dramas that you can't get much better than Prince of the City. It's streaming on Prime. And anybody that's interested in what I just said about it should check it out. It's well worth your time, and it will take up a chunk of your time, but it's well worth it. Yeah.
I had pictures of, all the fellas in this movie, but I didn't put up one of the female lead. Is it Lindsay?
Lindsay Krause, yeah, she's a regular in Sidney Lumet's
Mm.
films. Great actress. Yeah, she appeared in Daniel. She appeared in The Verdict. Yeah, she plays his suffering wife because he's basically having a mental breakdown. His world is falling apart. He's branded a stooge because he, uh, tells about all the corruption and gets in trouble. So
Where
anyway,
did you
it's a
say
great
it was streaming there?
streaming on Prime Video.
Okay. All right. So that is Prince of the City from 1981. I guess
Yeah.
it's a classic just like we are at this point, right?
There you go. Yeah. Well, we were born in what, 89. So yeah.
Of course, of
Of
course.
course. Of course. Yeah. We just don't like to say.
Oh, we do the recap here on the After Party Live. The first movie was Pillion. At the first viewing, you hated it. And I have to say, I love your stick-to-itiveness to this craft where you go back and you watch a movie you didn't like again. You say this movie provoked a response, that it's not for everyone. So you warn the sex scenes are super uncomfortable. But you do say that at the end of the second viewing, you realized that it is a true work of art and it does spark discussion about power and intimacy and what's normal and how humans connect. You recommend it. You say it's an excellent film, but there's some dark sex scenes in this. So, warning, be warned that you might not want to see that, but you might because Tim says it's good. The movie Jimpa. Jimpa, you said this is a character piece and you found it unfocused. You said there's nothing really wrong with this movie, but you're not sure if it really stuck the landing. You do say it's easy to watch and you recommend Jimpa, Man on the Run. You said this one is a documentary on Amazon Prime about Paul McCartney post-Beatles breakup. This movie, you said, has amazing archival footage. It's a movie about second acts, second chances, and you said it's fascinating. It's a must-see for Beatles fans, for pop music fans, and you recommend Man on the Run. And despite being what you say is the most impactful film of the week, when you've never seen one quite like this, of Sirat, you said there's a warning here. This one is not for the squeamish. You called it vivid and shocking cinema. You said it's heartbreaking. And despite all of that, you recommend this movie for people who can stomach some tough stuff. You said it's a brilliant film. You get caught up in the characters. And so Sirat is also recommended. And Tim Sika's classic movie rec of the week from 1981 is The Prince of the City, or no, The Prince of the City. You said this movie is long, almost 3 hours, dark, dramatic, agonizing world of New York City cops. You said it's streaming on Prime, and it is your pick for this week, Prince of the City. So there we
Hopefully next week we'll have some happier movies to talk about.
You're really dragging us down, Tim Sika.
I know. What am I doing here? Yeah. Well, I'll do better next week for sure.
Oh my goodness. At the Movies with Tim Sika. Mahalo, thank you, and happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, same to you, Kim. You gonna watch any good romantic comedies for the holiday?
You didn't really recommend any for me to watch.
I didn't. See, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm about as aware of holidays as the spiders that are hanging out in the corner of my office here.
You recommended one recently that I watched, and it's about.
That was the one. It was the one on Netflix. It was called something like Neighbors.
People I Meet on Vacation.
People I Meet on Vacation.
And it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, it was not bad. I kind of liked it too. Yeah, I thought the performances were really good. Yeah, and it got it got more and more interesting as it went along. Yeah, I like that one too. Yeah, yeah.
Zero Sum says the actor in Pillion was good in The Pale Blue Eye with Christian Bale about Edgar Allan Poe's experience as a young West.
Yes, he was. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Band on the Run isn't trying to hide. Means out on tour. All right, I don't know what that means. Art is so subjective. Thank you, Tim, says Yvonne Beach Bunny. So yeah, art is subjective, and I love that you kind of give a warning and then go back and talk about how the reasons you liked it. So interesting. Karen D says, thank you, Tim, for suggesting streaming movies. I don't go to the regular movies unless it's a European world indie movie. There are so many good films streaming right now for free. And so
true. Yeah.
Appreciated. Yeah. I do the streaming a lot as well. Jerry Orbach was a song and dance guy on Broadway. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. He won a Tony Award for a show called Promises, which was a musical version of The Apartment with a score by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Yeah, he was. And he was also, he also didn't he do one of the voices in Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, I
He was
think
like
so.
he was the French. He was the one that sang
Mhm.
"Be Our Guest."
Yeah, he was
Remember?
really good in that.
And he was
Mhm.
great. Yeah, he was a great song and dance man. Yeah, also a great dramatic actor too. Yeah.
Yeah, loved it. All right. Well, thank you, Tim Sika, and I look forward to seeing you next time, and have a great weekend.
You too, Kim. Talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.